So shall we talk about drinks?
Yeah. I just hit puberty. Yes, please.
I'll go first because I can be super quick. Let's put it this way. I didn't think I was going to have a drink tie-in today because I wasn't planning on it. I didn't even realize we were going to be recording this today. So I didn't think of picking up a beer yesterday when I was at the package store. However, the beer that I did absentmindedly pick up without thinking of a tie-in at all kind of works. It is by Off Color Brewing. It's a Leipzig style ghost ale brewed with hibiscus flowers. And it's from Chicago.
Woo!
Yeah, the beer is called Sparkles Finds Some Trouble. Sparkles the cat. And I don't know, I guess you could say that through pretty much this entire series, June is Sparkles. Sparkles. Sparkles the June is always finding trouble, but I still love her, and I still love this beer, because this is the shit. Seriously, find this. It's really, really fantastic. It's got a low ABV, which is very pleasant, and oh my God, it's like, it kind of tastes like apple cider, which is really interesting, because it's not a cider at all, but it really reminds me of apple cider, and I'm digging it.
June's finding good trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Elizabeth Moss's cat looks exactly like my cat?
You had texted us that. Yeah.
Oh man, I was so excited when I saw that. Yeah, she was on Good Morning America the other day, and her cat started walking behind her on the couch because cats have to insert themselves into everything that you do without fail. And her cat's name is Ethel, which I thought was adorable. And I'm positive Ethel makes an appearance in season 1. If not an appearance, she talks about her. Because isn't it like when she's meeting Luke for the first time and they're talking about her cat Ethel and her cell phone pictures? Do you remember
that?
That
Totally could be a thing, because it felt like a familiar thing when you said cat named Ethel, but I couldn't quite place it. Yeah, that could definitely be where that was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I love that.
Ethel is a legit cat, and she could totally be a sister from another mister to my cat because they're identical.
I love that you bring that up, because with our new found YouTube platform, people are seeing our faces for the first time, and I forgot that you look so much like Elizabeth Moss. Like, I know this in my mind. We've talked about this. And
we have?
Yes, we have. And we talked about it when we first started this podcast, and we were like, wow, not only do you look like Elizabeth Moss, but you sound like her too. Actually, my kid was the first person to point it out to me. She's like, she saw the Handmaid's Tale on TV and was like, that's Scarlett. And I was like, oh, I see it. Like, I hadn't, and then I couldn't stop seeing it. And then remember when we found that picture of Irma Grease, and I was like, this looks like Scarlett and Elizabeth Moss. Like, this is the two of them. This is this picture. Yikes. So somebody in the YouTube comments was like, I don't know if I'm just like late to the party here, but I can't stop looking at Scarlett when she reads the monologue of June. It sounds like her. It looks like her. Am I the only one seeing this? And I was like, no, I forgot that we actually have talked about it. And I just, because, you know, we've only had a podcast for so long, no one's really seen your face, more or less. And I forgot that there is a resemblance to Elizabeth Moss in your face, Scarlett, and apparently in your cat's as well.
Oh, just wait until I go blonde. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to do that. I'm gonna fuck all you guys up once I do that.
I love it. Marjorie, do you have a drink tie-in today, or shall I go?
Yeah, I do. I have a drink tie-in. But if you're watching on YouTube and you can see in my cup, it's not actually what I'm drinking, because I decided we're doing 2 recordings back to back, Sunday into Monday, and I just decided on this break that I just couldn't do any more drinking at this point. So I am drinking some tea, but I do have a really great tie-in for later. And because we are drinking 2 back-to-back days and I only prepared for 1 day, I have to work with a limited amount of supplies and alcohol. But I came up with a really great drink. It is called You Are Not Alone, and it is a play on a sidecar, because 2s. And also, I had the ingredients, so I was quite impressed with myself. But I used, instead of a cognac, I used amaretto. And I took some frozen raspberries, and I put the amaretto in, let it defrost, and mashed it up. I can show you that sitting over on my table over there. That's as far as my drink got in actuality. Then hit it with a little Grand Marnier and lemon juice and strain it. And you are not alone. The Handmaid's version of a sidecar.
Oh my word.
I
That
love
sounds delicious. I'm an absolute slut for sidecars. They are one of my favorites. Oh, I love sidecars so aggressively.
I don't think I've
that
ever
sounds-
had one.
I don't think I have either. I was excited to try it, but it seemed like it'd work.
Yeah, the amaretto might be like a little sweet for my blood, but I'm into what
Yeah.
you're doing there.
The raspberries really take down the sweetness on the amaretto.
Nice. Oh, I
That's
love it.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
I
guess,
actually
like, it
went
would be
light
the
on the
acidity.
lemon because the acidity of the raspberries
Okay.
was already there.
All right.
Nice. I'm also drinking a cocktail today instead of wine because I drank wine last night and I don't feel like drinking wine 2 nights in a row. Fancy that. So I am having a Chicago. So this is a play on a Chicago Fizz. A Chicago Fizz is a classic pre-Prohibition era cocktail. The origins of which have been lost to the ether. But this is equal. Or the traditional recipe is equal portions of rum and ruby port with fresh lemon juice, a little tiny bit of sugar, and an egg white. You shake the ever-living shit out of it to get that nice foam, and then you pour it into a glass with some soda water. I handmade mine a little bit, though. So the rum that I'm using in this is Privateer. Privateer rum. You guys remember I've talked about this before. Anyone that's a veteran of our podcast knows that I'm a huge fan of Privateer rum. They are based in Ipswich, Massachusetts. Their head distiller Maggie Campbell is a fucking badass. But I figured it would be nice to use a rum that was based out of the Boston area, where where Janine so desperately wanted to go back to. Instead of using a ruby port, because there's no affiliation to ruby port here, I used Inniskillin ice wine. A little splash of Inniskillin Cab Franc ice wine.
Oh.
So it's a dessert wine that's made in Niagara, escarpment in Canada,
That's
where the girls are trying to get to. So they're stuck between these two worlds. Also, it's fucking delicious. Instead of using lemon juice, because I ran out of lemons, I went with a blood orange. So the juice of a blood orange, which you can see propped up right there. I'm a big fan of using blood orange in my cocktails. I think it adds a nice sweetness to it. It gets that nice rich red color as well, which we love for our Handmaid's tie-ins. Yeah, and then a little bit of an egg white, and I have my Chicago Fizz Handmaid style. I didn't think of a clever name for it, though. I'm terrible with names. So, cheers.
That's a really great looking drink.
It's
Honestly.
gorgeous. It is so gorgeous.
Just like you two. Cheers.
All right, Roxy, I'm gonna put you to a task. What would I use to replace the egg and still get that foam?
Ooh.
Because that's a thing I've been thinking about, because I don't really think any of the egg replacers I normally use would really quite do the trick, but I have to look into a couple other. I know there's an egg replacer you can use for meringue, so I'm wondering if that would be the one I need to use.
What I would use, so what you're thinking for the egg replacement for meringue, if you've ever made, or if you ever had canned chickpeas.
So is it the aquafaba water?
Yes, aquafaba. So if you take canned chickpeas and you strain off the liquid that's in there, that's called aquafaba. And aquafaba and foam up really nicely the same exact way as a meringue. And you would think that being with chickpeas, it's going to have like that sort of like earthy flavor to it. Honestly, just like a little dash of sugar in there, and it's totally gone.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so you can
Yeah,
absolutely,
because that has
use
that. What I know, from what I know, adding egg, aside from the froth, it also can change the mouthfeel of the drink, and that is definitely what aquafaba is that what it is?
Aquafaba, yeah.
That has that like silky, it's almost too much sometimes I don't rinse my chickpeas well enough from the can, and I get like it's just like it's very silky and thick, but sometimes it's not really quite the texture you want, depending what you're doing. So soups is my issue. Specifically, my kid hates it when I don't rinse them well enough. But you're right, that that texture in a cocktail would be fantastic. And if you can mask the flavor, oh, that's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew you'd have an answer for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives it that creaminess, that gives it that soft, silky texture. It'll definitely get you that like nice aggressive foam like this has as well. And makes it totally vegan. Hooray!